Okay, so for this discussion video, pakita ta ang another nga example hamba ko sa previous nga discussion video. Hindi lang simple ang probably nga pwede natin ma-encounter if we have to look at a certain differential equation. So what if we are provided this type of DE? And then ang pamangkot lang man sa aton is whether this equation is exact or not. Pamangkot is we have to classify kung exact differential equation ni o hindi. Okay, that means kinahanglan ta siya i-test ang exactness ng sining differential equation. Again, parehas ang in-star ko sa previous nga discussion video, we have to consider kung sa diin ta siya dapat i-partial derivative. So, if ang iyang upod is dx, i-partial derive ta siya in terms of y. If ang iya upod is dy, i-partial derive ta siya in terms of x. That means, ang tanan-tanan nga may x is constant sa diri nga equation. Ang tanan nga may y or tanan nga y diri is constant sa sining equation. Sige, underline ta. Ang ano i-treat naton nga constant. So this one, constant diri ang x. Diri naman, constant diri ang e raised to 2y. Constant man di ang y, constant dari ang 2y. So, constant ni. Constant, constant. Okay, so importante na nga na-identify mo ang imong mga constant. Okay, para masako sa imo, mag-perform sang partial derivative. So, we have, okay, let us perform our test. So, derive ta ang e raised to 2y in terms of y. So, that is e raised to u du dapat. So, that is e raised to 2y. So, e raised to 2y multiplied by derivatives ng 2y, that is 2 minus. So, we have y cosine xy dx. That means, so we have to perform your product rule. So, we have to consider, unahon ta, a copy ang first, derivative of the second, derivative sang cosine xy. Again, this is constant, but silingon daw cosine y lang siya. So, hindi na natin kinahanglan mag-perform pa sang iban nga mga identity dira. So, constant lang man ang upod niya. Cosine y lang ari dire. So, derivative of your cosine is sine. Sine of kabilugan nga equation, x, y. So, since we have x, y sa sulod, so, derivative of your derivative sa aton inner function ng xy. So, derivative, since x is constant, kapihon ko danay ang constant x. Derivative of y is 1, so that is 1. So, x lang aton nga na-multiplied dara. Since we perform product rule, that means, unahon ko naman, kapihon ko naman ang second term, which is cosine xy. Then, derivative of y, which is, or negative y, kay minus siya. So, we have minus 1. So, we have this equation. So, this equation is equal to, okay, simplify natin, 2 e raised to 2y minus your xy. Then we have your sine x, y. Then we have your minus cosine x, y. So 2e to the 2y minus xy sine xy minus cosine xy, this is our equation. Dapat kung i-perform ta, ang aton nga partial derivatives ng second equation in terms of x, amo man ni dapat ang aton answer. Okay, so let us check kung mapareos man gid ang aton answer. So we have okay, so let us proceed. E to the 2y is constant. 2 is also constant. So that means kapihon ko lang ang 2e raised to 2y. Derivative of x is 1 minus. So we have duwa ka equation. We have x cosine xy. So but silingon ma-perform man ta sa aton nga partial derivative. Minus x or negative x. Then, derivative of your cosine xy. Bali do cosine x lang siya kay maupod siya nga derivative or nga constant dere. So that means this is equal to derivatives ng imo nga cosine is sine, negative sine. Then we have xy. Then derivative of your inner function ng xy, which is equal to y is constant, kapihon ko lang ang y, derivative of x, which is 1. Next, you have ang sugpon sa aton nga product, which is cosine. Second equation naman, cosine xy. And then derivative of your negative x, that is negative 1. Then we have derivative of your 2y. 2y is constant. So naka-red siya diri. This is constant. But singon we have to add 0. So plus 0. If we have to simplify this equation, aton answer will be equal to 2e raised to 2y. So minus times minus. This is negative or this is positive plus xy. Okay. So we have plus xy multiplied by your sine xy plus. Okay, so minus kami negative 1. So we have minus cosine xy. Minus cosine xy. Okay, take note, we have to check kung may sala kita sa aton nga operation or may sala kita sa aton nga gin-perform nga operations. So we have check danay naton. Kay base paris-paris lang man ang aton nga answer. Base may nagsala lang kita with the operation nga gin-perform naton. So we have negative y sine xy. So we perform derivative cosine is okay. So negative man eh. So we have this one is negative. So therefore positive ni. Okay, so dito nagsala. We perform positive kagina. So we have 2e to the 2y plus xy times sine xy minus cosine xy. So we have this equation, but silingon, this one or this equation is an exact differential equation. Kay nagparehas ang ating nga partial derivatives. So we will have another equation. Test or i-check ta ang aton concept of your exact DE. So we have an equation. Sige. So cosine x, sine x minus x y squared dx plus y times 1 minus x squared dy is equal to 0. So we have an equation cosine x sine x minus xy squared dx plus y times 1 minus x squared dy is equal to 0. Now, una-una nato yung kinahanglan himuon is to check whether this one is an exact differential equation. Siyempre, kay base karon ma-perform to sang operation in exact, nga hindi siya gali exact nga itong equation. So, that means, Sige, let us perform your test kung exact or hindi. Okay, we are given dx dere. Therefore, i-partial derivative ta siya in terms of dy. Given ta dy, i-partial derivative ta siya in terms of dx. So, we have d over dy of your cosine x sine x minus x y squared. Dari naman, d over dx of your y times 1 minus x squared. Okay, so again, so mas okay kung i-underline naton kung ano ang mga constant nga i-treat naton. Since we have to differentiate in terms or partial derivative in terms of y, tanan nga x is constant. X ang upod, kabilugan nga equation is constant. X dere is constant. So, we have in terms of x, therefore tanan nga y is constant. This is constant. Okay, so derive na ta. So we have to derive hambal naton this whole equation is constant. So kung kauntang derivative of a constant, this is equal to 0. So we have 0 minus derivative of xy squared. X is constant, so kapihon ko siya danay. We have y squared. Derivative ng y squared is 2y. Kung aton answer is negative 2xy. Dali naman kita sa piyak. So we have perform tang aton operation. Y is constant. Therefore, kapihon ta lang siya. So we have y. Then, derive ta ang 1 that is 0. Derive ta ang negative x squared that is negative 2x. So aton answer is negative 2xy. So, parehas ang aton equation both or sa duwa ka function. Therefore, this is an exact DE. Okay, so since we have an exact na DE, sige, try ta solve ang iningat type of differential equation. So, we have this one. Okay, so take note, we have this one. So, buot silingon, this is dx dere. Buot silingon, this is a partial derivative in terms of x. Ang cosine x, ang kabilugan ng equation, cosine x sine x minus x y squared. Dari naman siya, dy, therefore this is a partial derivative in terms of y is equal to y times 1 minus x squared. Dari na ta mapili ta kundi hindi ang mas hapos para sa aton. Okay? Hindi ang mas hapos nga i-integrate. Diin ang mas hapos i-integrate. Bisan ka mo man guro papilion. Ano ang pilion ninyo nga function? Kung mag-integrate kita. Siyempre, ang wala kita cosine kag sine. Dali kita ma-perform sa integration sa piak kay para masapos aton. So we have kaunta ang f. Dali or ang f na gid nga value. So since we have to integrate sa y lang nga value, ang may x nga equation that is constant. So that means, so ipagwa ko ang 1 minus x squared kag i-integrate ko lang siya in terms of y. So dugangan ta dy kay mag-integrate kita. So we have this is okay, so aton equation is equal to, so kapit ang constant nga 1 minus x squared. Integral of y is 1 half y squared. Plus, so may ara kita constant in terms of a variable. So, nag-partial derive ta in terms of y, ang opposite sina is x. Okay, so we have C lang gali, C. Di prime ha. So, C of x. So, this is your f. 1 minus x squared times 1 half y squared plus c of x or cx. So, then, kinanglan natin subong kuhaon ang ini nga value kay para ma-equate ta siya. So, but silingon, we have to perform your df over dx. Dali lang ko ma-perform ha kay para may space pa ta. Is equal to, so partial derivative ta in terms of x. So, this y is constant. So, that means we have your, kapihon ko lang, ang y squared over 2. Derive ta siya in terms of x. So, that is, derivative of 1 is 0. Derivative of negative x squared is negative 2x. Plus, derivative of cx is c prime x. So, this is, kinanglan ta siya equate sa array, df over dx man, which is equal to cosine x sine x minus xy squared. So, makancel ni 2 and 2. Mabilin dere, this is negative xy squared plus c prime x is equal to cosine x sine x minus xy squared. Okay, so kung makita ninyo, we have duwa ka equation nga equal sa both side of the equation. Cancel ko lang diretso. Ang mabilin, we have your c prime x is equal to cosine x sine x. So, cosine x sine x. Next, we have your cosine x sine x. Kinanglan ta pangitaon niya ang c of x kay amo na ding aton equation. Therefore, kinanglan naton mag-integrate. So, integrating both side of the equation. So, paano i-integrate cosine x sine x? Dapat kabalo na kamo ni kung paano siya integrate. So, by u substitution, nakabalo na kamo na. U naton is, okay, so your cosine x. Du naton is negative sine x. Okay, so, bisan ano lang da, pwede lang man Japon. So, we have, pero cosine lang akong gamiton. So, kay para, kung gamiton mo yung sign, still the same lang man na Japon. So, we have, so du naton is negative sine x. Since kinanglan ta negative sine x, dere multiply lang ko negative sa guwa sang equation para positive Japon. So, that is, aton nga u, so that is equal to, okay, transform ta danay para hindi ka magtalang. We have negative integral of, this is u naton, then we have your du. That means, kung i-integrate na siya, this is negative u squared over 2. So, kung i-substitute ta siya answer na, or value naton, this is negative cosine squared x over 2. Negative cosine squared x over 2. Amo ni siya ang aton nga cx. cx. Okay, so ang muna nga aton nga cx. So, i-substitute ta di siya sa aton answer. We have f is equal to 1 minus x squared multiplied by 1 half times y squared plus your cosine squared x over 2. Okay, so we have this one. Since parehas, hambal naton, kinanglan naton mag-add isang arbitrary constant sa punta, so we have c here. So, then simplify ta lang aton nga answer. So, kwaon ko lang ang 1 half. But silingon mo multiply ko 2 sa kabilugan nga equation. So, that will be 1 minus x squared. Then we have y squared. plus your cosine squared x. Cosine minus, gali, minus. Okay, minus dali. Okay, minus. So, minus cosine squared x is equal to, dapat ka nag-multiply ta 2c dapat. Pero since arbitrary constant lang man siya, c lang sa Japon. So, we have c. So, 1 minus x squared, y squared, minus cosine squared x is equal to c. This now will be aton nga final answer. Okay? So this is it para sa aton nga example on your exact differential equations. So we will have more of the discussion on differential equation pa, on Bernoulli's equation, and even other types of linear nga differential equations. This is it. Thank you. Stay safe. God bless.